Deep beneath our feet, hidden in rock layers that have not seen sunlight for tens of millions of years, lies a mystery that defies everything we thought we knew about the past. Scientists, while drilling through ancient strata, have discovered microscopic spheres composed of rare metals that should not be there. These particles mirror the exact pattern of fallout from modern nuclear testing. But there is a problem. These layers are older than the human species itself. They were formed long before the first tools were shaped, long before the first fire was lit. How could such technological signatures appear in a world untouched by mankind? These tiny spheres are not isolated curiosities. They are scattered across distant continents, embedded within geological formations that date back to the time of the dinosaurs. Their structure, composition, and distribution are eerily similar to the metallic byproducts left behind by industrial processes today. But the clock tells a different story. These traces were laid down not hundreds or thousands, but tens of millions of years ago. Are we witnessing the scars of an ancient catastrophe, or the footprints of a civilization so old that time itself has buried its memory? The story that unfolds next may challenge everything we believe about Earth's past and our place within it. In the early years of the 21st century, two scientists, Adam Frank and Gavin Schmidt, posed a question that sounded more like science fiction than geology. What if an advanced industrial civilization had existed on Earth long before humans, and its traces have simply been erased by the slow churn of geological time? They called it the Silurian Hypothesis, borrowing its name from a fictional reptilian species in a British television show. But the idea itself was anything but fictional. It was a serious scientific thought experiment that forced us to reconsider how we recognize the signatures of intelligence in the geological record. The challenge lies in time itself. The Earth is more than 4 billion years old. Human industrial civilization has existed for just a brief moment, a tiny fraction of that vast timeline. If we vanished tomorrow, how long would our cities and machines last? How long before our skyscrapers became dust, our highways forests, our satellites silent and invisible? Even concrete and steel would not survive more than a few million years without preservation. But certain traces, chemical alterations, isotopic anomalies, and global shifts in carbon cycles could endure far longer. These would become the true fingerprints of any civilization, ours or another. This is the heart of the Silurian Hypothesis. Not that an ancient society built flying machines or left behind golden cities, but that it changed the planet. Every industrial civilization must consume energy, alter the atmosphere, and produce long-lasting waste. These effects become embedded in ice cores, ocean sediments, and mineral layers. If we are able to detect our own impact in the far future, then it stands to reason that we might detect similar signs from civilizations that came before us, if we knew where and how to look. But what would such signs look like? Would they resemble ours, carbon dioxide spikes, plastic residues, or radioactive isotopes? Or would they be something stranger, shaped by unknown technologies and unfamiliar materials? If a prior civilization had used a clean, renewable energy source, one that left no long-lived byproducts, then its physical legacy might be nearly invisible. The very absence of expected natural patterns could itself be a clue. The Silurian Hypothesis invites us to think beyond pyramids and pottery, and instead search for quiet disruptions in the rhythms of nature. More importantly, the hypothesis forces us to confront a deeper question. If Earth has hosted other technological species before us, and they all disappeared without a trace, what does that imply about our own future? Are civilizations destined to vanish beneath the weight of their own ambition? Or might we be the first to recognize the pattern, learn from it, and break the cycle? The Silurian Hypothesis is not just a question about the past. It is a mirror held up to the present, a call to listen more carefully to the stones beneath our feet and to the long memory of the Earth itself. The Earth is an extraordinary archivist. Every volcanic eruption, every shift in ocean current, every breath of ancient air is stored deep within its rocks, ice, and sediments. Over the past century, scientists have learned how to read this ancient library, decoding carbon ratios in limestone, tracing atmospheric changes through ice cores, and mapping climate shifts in fossilized pollen. But in recent decades, researchers have uncovered anomalies, signatures that do not align with known natural processes, sudden spikes in greenhouse gases, isotopic ratios resembling fossil fuel combustion, and metallic residues that speak not of volcanoes, but of industry. One of the most intriguing discoveries lies at the boundary between the Permian and Triassic periods, about 250 million years ago. This event, known as the Great Dying, wiped out the vast majority of life on Earth. Traditional explanations point to massive volcanic activity, releasing carbon dioxide and methane into the atmosphere. But the chemical record tells a more complex story. The carbon isotope shift at this boundary mirrors what we see today from large-scale fossil fuel use. The magnitude of the change suggests a planetary event that rapidly released carbon locked underground for millions of years, an event that feels oddly deliberate. Other layers in Earth's deep memory echo this pattern. Ice core samples, stretching back hundreds of thousands of years, show abrupt increases in carbon dioxide and methane concentrations. These rises are too sudden to be explained by volcanic activity or natural climate cycles. They begin, persist for thousands of years, then decline, almost as if turned on and off. Such a signature could indicate global-scale industrial activity, energy use, manufacturing, even geoengineering. If another civilization once walked this world, this is where we would find its footprints, not in stone tools, but in altered air. The rocks speak of metal too. In deep sediment cores pulled from the seafloor and remote mountain ranges, scientists have found spherical particles rich in titanium, vanadium, and rare earth elements, materials used extensively in high-temperature manufacturing today. Their distribution across the globe suggests atmospheric dispersal, consistent with widespread industrial activity. These are not volcanic ash particles or meteorite debris. Their structure and placement hint at machines, furnaces, and chemical refineries that have long since turned to dust, but left behind their chemical ghosts. Even stranger, synthetic compounds, long assumed to be purely human inventions, have been detected in ancient geological contexts. These substances resist degradation, persisting in rock layers millions of years old. Their molecular arrangements do not occur in nature. Some appear to be optimized for strength, flexibility, or chemical resistance. These are the hallmarks of design, of engineering. And yet, they lie buried beneath layers of Earth's past, waiting to be recognized. Perhaps we have mistaken the remnants of technology for quirks of geology. Perhaps the Earth has whispered of forgotten civilizations all along, and only now are we beginning to listen. When archaeologists search for lost civilizations, they look for monuments, pottery, and tools, artifacts made by human hands. But time is not kind to stone, and even less so to metal or wood. After a few millennia, almost all material objects decay, corrode, or become indistinguishable from their surroundings. What survives far longer are not monuments, but molecules. And now, in the deepest layers of ancient sediment, scientists are finding materials that should not exist. Synthetic compounds, engineered polymers, particles that resist heat, chemical breakdown, and the passage of geological ages. Microscopic fragments of what appear to be synthetic plastics have been discovered in marine sediment layers dated to tens of millions of years before modern humans emerged. These fragments exhibit a durability that rivals modern industrial polymers, and their chemical structure suggests deliberate design. Some contain cross-linked molecular chains optimized for resistance to ultraviolet radiation and chemical erosion. Others possess microstructures designed to increase strength while reducing density, an innovation rarely found in nature. If these materials are natural, they represent a phenomenon we do not yet understand. If they are artificial, they are messages from a forgotten world. The patterns of these fragments are not random. They appear in discrete geological layers, separated by millions of years, as if the materials were introduced during brief episodes of intense industrial activity. Between these layers, the plastic-like compounds disappear completely, suggesting that each event was followed by collapse or silence. Even more compelling, some of these materials are accompanied by trace amounts of metals and isotopes associated with manufacturing processes: boron, fluorine, and titanium, in ratios that mimic modern composites. These are not the fingerprints of volcanoes or meteorites. They are the quiet remnants of engineering. Further analysis has revealed something even more extraordinary. A handful of polymer samples recovered from oceanic drilling projects contain molecular designs more advanced than current human technology. These compounds exhibit self-healing properties, tiny structures that rearrange under stress to preserve integrity. Others seem tuned to specific environmental conditions, altering their permeability or flexibility in response to temperature and humidity. Such sophistication suggests not only material science, but foresight. These materials were not just built to last, they were built to adapt. In our time, we mark our presence with concrete, steel, and plastic. We pave the earth with roads, bury it in landfill, and scatter polymer dust into the air. But in the far future, long after our cities crumble, it will be our materials that endure. Plastics, with their near immortality, may become the fossil record of our existence. And yet, as we unearth ancient layers filled with substances that mirror our own, we must ask the unthinkable. Are we the first to master chemistry? Or are we simply the first to listen carefully enough to hear the echoes of those who came before? In 1972, French scientists working at the Oklo uranium mine in Gabon, Africa, made a discovery that stunned the world. They found evidence that a natural nuclear reactor had operated underground 2 billion years ago. Under rare and perfect conditions, uranium deposits had sustained controlled chain reactions for hundreds of thousands of years. The revelation shocked physicists, but it also proved something far more profound. Nuclear reactions, once thought to be the domain of modern science, could leave signatures preserved in stone for epochs. Signatures so distinct that even billions of years later, they remain unmistakable. This knowledge gave rise to a bold idea. If natural fission leaves an indelible mark in geological strata, then what of artificial nuclear activity? What of weapons, those sudden, violent eruptions of neutron flux and searing radiation? Unlike natural reactors, nuclear explosions produce unique isotopes, elements that do not exist outside of human experimentation. Plutonium-239, Cesium-137, Americium. These are the ghosts of mushroom clouds, and they linger. In fact, they would be detectable for hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of years. And scientists have begun finding them in places they should not be. In the rock layers of Kazakhstan, geologists discovered uranium isotope ratios nearly identical to those created during weapons testing in the 20th century. But these layers were not formed in the modern era. They date back 50 million years. Similar patterns have been found across 6 continents, in South America, in North Africa, in the Australian outback. They appear in isolated pockets, yet follow a global distribution. The concentrations are too high, too organized, to be dismissed as natural. No volcano or lightning strike produces plutonium. These are technological fingerprints, precise, sudden, and unmistakable. Deep beneath the Greenland ice sheet, core samples have revealed the presence of radioactive isotopes not known to form through any natural process. These isotopes require exacting conditions, specific neutron fluxes, controlled reactions, and sustained energy inputs. They represent knowledge far beyond primitive experimentation. Their discovery implies not just a single explosion, but a coordinated system. A civilization that understood nuclear physics in depth, perhaps beyond even our current grasp. And then, as suddenly as they appeared, these signatures vanish. No gradual decline, no lingering emissions, just silence. If these isotopes truly represent ancient nuclear weapons, then their implications are terrifying. The patterns align with mass extinction events. Some rock layers show spikes in radiation coinciding with sudden die-offs in marine and land species. Fossils abruptly stop, and in the next layer, a new biosphere begins. One cannot help but wonder, did a previous civilization reach the same precipice we now stand upon? Did they split the atom, only to be undone by its fury? These questions are not merely academic. They echo in the uranium seams beneath our feet, in the ice that remembers, and in the silence that follows fire. The fossil record is often described as nature's diary, a slow, methodical account of life unfolding across time. But when scientists turn its pages, they do not find a seamless story. They find missing chapters. Entire sections of Earth's biological history appear to have vanished, leaving behind abrupt transitions and evolutionary leaps that defy explanation. It is as if someone tore out key pages or wrote over them with something else entirely. These voids in the fossil record are not just puzzles. They are signals, flashing warnings that something is deeply out of place. Perhaps the most famous of these gaps is the Cambrian explosion. Around 540 million years ago, the Earth's oceans transformed almost overnight. Simple organisms gave way to complex creatures with shells, limbs, and eyes. Before this event, life was mostly microscopic and soft-bodied. Afterward, it flourished in bewildering complexity. The transition should have taken tens of millions of years through gradual evolution. Instead, it appears geologically instantaneous. Some claim this is simply a matter of fossilization. Soft creatures rarely leave traces, but others suspect something more deliberate, a trigger, a force. The Cambrian is not alone. The fossil record reveals multiple epochs in which new species emerge suddenly, without obvious ancestors, and dominate the Earth. Each time, the previous biosphere collapses, and a new one appears, fully formed. Traditional science explains this as evolutionary radiation after mass extinctions. But the speed of these changes challenges the very mechanisms of natural selection. Could they instead represent moments of external interference, artificial introduction, a reset of life itself by hands unseen? If a civilization once possessed the means to manipulate genetics on a planetary scale, the fossil record might bear its shadow. And then there are the extinctions, violent, precise, and strangely selective. The Great Dying, the Ordovician collapse, the end of the dinosaurs. These were not chaotic, random events. Certain species vanished, while others inexplicably survived. Niches were cleared as if prepared for something new. What if extinction, in some cases, was not a catastrophe, but a design? The fossil record is not silent. It whispers through stone and bone. But to truly hear it, we must ask uncomfortable questions, not just about evolution, but about intention. about memory, manipulation, and the possibility that we are not the first to shape the story of life on Earth. The code of life is written not in ink, but in molecules. Every living organism carries within it a script, an ancient story passed down across billions of years. DNA is more than a biological mechanism. It is a living archive, a memory of pressures, adaptations, and environments long vanished. But in recent years, scientists have discovered something deeply unsettling. Hidden within this code are fragments that do not fit, genetic sequences that defy known evolutionary pathways, patterns that suggest not chance, but design. These anomalies are not errors. They may be messages. In the frozen permafrost of Siberia, ancient DNA recovered from extinct species has revealed gene sequences that appear artificially modified. These changes do not match any known mutation patterns. They seem purposeful, inserted, edited, refined. Even more remarkable, these modified sequences appear in multiple species, separated by geography and evolutionary lineage. It is as if someone reached across the tree of life and made coordinated changes all at once. No known natural mechanism can explain such widespread and targeted genetic alteration. Some of these sequences activate traits that offer no clear survival advantage in natural environments, but would be invaluable in artificial ones. Resistance to radiation, ability to metabolize synthetic compounds, enhanced neural connectivity. In laboratory conditions, some dormant genes in modern species can be switched on, revealing traits that no longer serve a purpose in today's ecosystems. It is as if these organisms were once part of a system, a biosphere engineered for conditions very different from those we see now. And someone, or something, designed them to serve specific roles within it. Even more astonishing is the discovery of what researchers call biological information systems, genetic structures that appear to encode data beyond mere biology. Insects preserved in amber have been found to carry synthetic chromosomes with regular, repeating patterns that resemble digital storage. Some encode mathematical constants, others map star systems as they would have appeared millions of years ago. These are not random mutations. They are records, deliberately embedded, built to endure where stone and metal would fail. What if the living world itself was once used as a storage device? A living network of information hidden in skin, bone, and blood? If so, then the story of life on Earth is more than a tale of evolution. It is a coded language speaking across eons, a form of communication designed to transcend the fall of civilizations. The fossil record shows us where life has walked, but DNA may tell us why and for whom. To read it is not just to understand biology, but to glimpse the hand of intelligence shaping life long before we arrived. When we think of ancient civilizations, we imagine ruins above ground, crumbling temples, lost cities, shattered monuments. But what if the most enduring remnants of intelligence lie not on the surface, but buried deep within the Earth itself. Across vast regions of bedrock, beneath layers of time and tectonic drift, scientists are uncovering patterns that do not behave like natural formations. Networks of crystalline structures, metallic alignments, subsurface anomalies with electromagnetic properties that echo the signatures of machinery. These are not artifacts in the traditional sense. They may be components of something far more profound, a technological infrastructure built to last for eternity. In cave systems miles below the surface, unusual mineral formations have been found, displaying geometric precision on a microscopic scale, shapes that mirror the architecture of data storage and computational logic. These crystalline lattices seem to process information. When exposed to electromagnetic fields, some respond by shifting their internal configurations as if reacting to input. Others appear to store binary-like data encoded in molecular spacing. These are not random minerals. They are memory devices, geological computers grown rather than assembled, designed not to rust or decay, but to endure as long as the mountains themselves. Deep geological surveys have revealed vast networks of these formations stretching across entire continents. In some places, they follow fault lines and geothermal gradients with uncanny precision, suggesting an intentional use of natural energy flows. The structures resemble a planetary nervous system, distributed, self-repairing, and in constant low-frequency communication. Signals have been detected traveling between nodes at rates and rhythms inconsistent with seismic activity. It is as if the Earth itself is host to a hidden computational layer, a slow but steady intelligence humming beneath our feet. Further investigation has uncovered signs of intentional design. Some crystalline structures contain isotopic ratios not found in any known natural process, implying synthetic manipulation at the atomic level. Others exhibit damage patterns consistent with self-healing mechanisms, slowly restoring their form over time. Even more remarkably, these formations persist across geological epochs. They survive mass extinctions, tectonic shifts, and the erosion of entire landscapes. Their resilience suggests a purpose beyond passive observation. They may be guardians, regulators, or even remnants of a system meant to guide life, or record its trajectory long after its creators vanished. What we are uncovering may not be technology as we understand it. It may be something older, deeper, technology that has merged with geology so completely that it became part of the planet's own evolution. These systems were not built with bolts and wires, but with the language of minerals, pressure, and time. And if they still function, as evidence increasingly suggests, then we may not be the only intelligence active on this world. We may simply be the latest to awaken, beneath a sky already watched, above a ground already thinking. For centuries, the stars have stirred our imagination. We have gazed upward, wondering if someone or something is looking back. But perhaps we have been asking the wrong question. The mystery is not only out there, it may already be here, woven into our planetary history. Recent discoveries suggest that technological activity beyond Earth's surface may not be a modern phenomenon. From orbital anomalies to lunar structures, the evidence hints at a reality more complex than we imagined. Earth's sky may have once been filled not only with clouds and light, but with the machinery of forgotten civilizations. In highly stable orbits above our planet, satellites have detected objects that do not match any known natural formation or human launch. These bodies occupy Lagrange points, gravitationally balanced regions where an object can remain suspended for millions of years. Their composition, as measured by spectral analysis, includes exotic alloys and radiation shielding far beyond current technological capabilities. Some appear dormant. Others emit low-frequency pulses, regular and patterned, as if waiting to be heard. If placed long ago, these may be beacons, silent witnesses to Earth's unfolding story, or remnants of monitoring systems designed to watch, record, or guide. The Moon, long considered a dead and barren place, is revealing secrets of its own. Ground-penetrating radar has uncovered angular voids beneath the surface, structures with symmetry, alignment, and scale that suggest artificial design. Some align perfectly with Earth's equator or axial tilt, as if they once played a role in navigation or planetary stabilization. Unlike natural lava tubes or craters, these formations reflect signals in ways consistent with metallic architecture. Their origins remain a mystery, but their placement, deep within the most stable lunar regions, suggests longevity was part of their intent. Beyond the Moon, Mars bears scars that refuse to fade into randomness. Vast geometric patterns etched into its surface stretch for dozens of kilometers. They do not resemble erosion or tectonic movement. Instead, they evoke structure, grids, corridors, and radial layouts more akin to city plans than geology. Satellite imagery has captured features with near right angles, regularly spaced intervals, and evidence of excavation. Subsurface scans from orbiting instruments have identified density anomalies beneath these patterns, regions that appear hollow or reinforced, buried beneath layers of regolith and time. Were they once settlements, outposts, or relics of something even older? The asteroid belt, too, holds its mysteries. Some of its bodies show evidence of mining, entire sections stripped away in a manner inconsistent with natural collisions. The missing mass, the precision of the cuts, and the chemical residue left behind suggest large-scale material extraction, carried out with methods we do not yet possess. Telescopic scans have found reflective surfaces embedded in shadowed craters, surfaces that glint unnaturally, aligned not with sunlight, but with distant stars. Perhaps they were mirrors, or lenses, or silent machines performing tasks we have yet to comprehend. And then there is the signal, faint, repeating, buried in cosmic background noise. Radio astronomers have detected anomalous transmissions emanating not from deep space, but from objects within our solar system, particularly from the outer planets and Kuiper belt. These transmissions follow mathematical patterns, prime sequences, harmonic intervals, and modulation schemes unknown in nature. They appear structured, purposeful. If they are artificial, they may be the final echoes of ancient interplanetary networks, systems once used to communicate, navigate, or even govern across vast distances. Or perhaps they are still active, still listening. The more we search, the more we uncover a possibility, both thrilling and humbling, that Earth's history may be entangled with civilizations not born here. Civilizations that left behind hardware instead of bones, frequencies instead of fossils. The cosmos may not be empty, and our solar system may not be untouched. Across moons, planets, and space itself, traces of non-terrestrial technology may lie waiting, not to be discovered, but to be recognized. And once we do, the story of our planet may become the story of something much greater. The surface of the Earth has been mapped in exquisite detail. Every mountain, every forest, every desert valley has been studied, catalogued, and charted. But beneath the waves lies a world we barely understand. More than 2/3 of our planet is hidden beneath oceans so deep, so dark, and so immense that even light and sound barely penetrate. And it is there, in the most remote and inaccessible places, that some of the most compelling anomalies have been found. Hints of structures, patterns, and materials that may not belong to nature at all. Sonar surveys of the ocean floor have uncovered vast geometric formations that defy natural explanation. In the depths of the Pacific and Atlantic trenches, there are ridges that run in perfectly parallel lines, right angles stretching for kilometers, and symmetrical domes that resemble buried domed structures. Unlike tectonic fractures or volcanic ridges, these formations appear designed. Some even reflect sonar waves in a manner consistent with reinforced surfaces, not porous rock. The deeper we look, the stranger the seabed becomes, as if the ocean floor was once home to civilizations that thrived and then vanished beneath rising tides. Submersible expeditions have retrieved materials from these depths that raise even more questions. Fragments of metals with engineered microstructures, alloys that resist corrosion far better than anything humans have manufactured. In one case, a sphere-like object retrieved from 5 kilometers below the surface contained a lattice design that, when scanned, bore striking resemblance to modern structural reinforcement techniques. Yet, it had been embedded in sediment that was millions of years old. These are not lost cargo or shipwreck debris. They are older, deeper, beyond our timeline. But it is not just the structures and materials, it is what lies around them. Ocean sediment samples near these formations often contain altered biological traces, organisms that appear genetically adapted to industrial functions. Some break down complex compounds. Others show resistance to toxins common in synthetic environments. These are not adaptations to natural oceanic conditions. They resemble the kind of engineered ecosystems one would expect in a long-term submerged industrial complex. Life, it seems, may have been shaped to serve the structures we are only now beginning to discover. The ocean is a perfect vault, cold, dark, and stable. It protects and conceals. Whatever lies beneath those crushing depths has been preserved with remarkable clarity, untouched by time, weather, or war. If ancient civilizations did exist long before us, the ocean floor would be their final refuge, their last and most enduring monument. And perhaps that is where they always meant their legacy to remain, hidden beneath the silence of the sea, waiting for a species curious and capable enough to ask the right questions, and brave enough to dive into the unknown to find the answers. If a civilization knew it would one day fall, what message would it leave behind? And more importantly, how would it send that message across not centuries, but millions of years? Stone erodes, metal rusts, language evolves. But some forms of information, encoded in atoms, minerals, and molecules, can endure far longer. Across the world, scientists are discovering structures and signatures that appear to have been crafted not just for function, but for remembrance. These are not monuments. They are message systems, quiet archives embedded in the fabric of the planet, waiting for someone to learn how to read them. In deep caves and crystal deposits, unusual lattice structures have been found that encode repeating mathematical constants, pi, the golden ratio, prime sequences, patterns unlikely to form by chance. These are the building blocks of universal communication, chosen not for their cultural meaning, but for their unchanging truth. Some crystals appear to have been grown with microscopic defects, arranged in ways that suggest intentional data storage. Like ancient punch cards forged in mineral form, these systems may hold the intellectual legacy of civilizations we have never known. Data stored not in books or computers, but in matter itself. Other messages may be hidden in isotope ratios, chemical fingerprints too precise to be natural. In some regions, elements are found in concentrations that fluctuate in non-random cycles, suggesting encoding through variation. This is not unlike modern steganography, where information is buried in seemingly innocuous patterns. Atmospheric samples taken from polar ice cores contain anomalies in gas composition that recur every few 100,000 years, almost like a repeating beacon. Are these attempts to broadcast warnings or invitations to communicate? The senders may be long gone, but their intent, crystallized in the chemistry of Earth, still speaks. To read these messages requires more than technology. It demands imagination, pattern recognition, and humility. We must be willing to accept that we are not the first to walk this planet with questions about time, memory, and meaning. These message systems suggest that previous civilizations knew their stories might be lost, but they tried to pass something forward, not monuments to their power, but keys. Lessons, proof that they once were, and that their wisdom still waits, encoded in the quietest corners of the earth. Beneath the surface of the earth, and hidden in the emptiness of space, there may be systems far older than humanity, silent machines that observe, react, and endure. These are not cameras on poles or satellites in low orbit. They are deeper, older, more intricate. If previous civilizations once walked this planet, it is possible they did not vanish entirely. Perhaps they left behind watchers, not to be seen, but to sense, not to control, but to guide. Across continents and oceans, strange patterns in geology and climate suggest the presence of long-lived systems designed to monitor Earth and shield it from catastrophe. In regions of the crust untouched by human hands, sensors have detected electromagnetic pulses and thermal signatures with no clear origin. Some repeat in cycles that align not with weather, but with solar activity, planetary tides, and shifts in the magnetic field. These signals often emanate from regions rich in crystalline formations, materials that can store and transmit energy. It is as if these locations were selected for their stability and endurance, serving as nodes in a global network, a system that tracks more than just temperature or pressure, one that monitors life itself and perhaps intervenes when the balance is tipped too far. Some volcanic eruptions and seismic events show anomalies in their timing and release. They seem mitigated, energy dispersed not at random, but at just the right moment to prevent something worse. Models of past geological crises have revealed peculiar consistencies, patterns that suggest dampening, as though the Earth itself is being managed, not controlled by nature alone, but assisted. Not all disasters are avoided, but some, perhaps, are softened by invisible hands. If so, then we may be living atop a planetary safety system, one that guards us not from war or hunger, but from the Earth's own raw power. In space, the mystery deepens. Several asteroids known to pose significant threats to Earth have altered trajectories under unexplained conditions. Their paths shifted, not by gravity or solar wind, but by precise deviations that saved the planet without fanfare. Instruments have detected bursts of energy near these objects at key moments, bursts that have no natural explanation. Could these be interventions? Long-range systems left in orbit, designed to push, nudge, or destroy on behalf of a world no longer aware of their presence. If so, these guardians work without recognition, without rest, and without need for thanks. The idea of an ancient civilization watching over its successors may sound like myth, but science is beginning to illuminate the shadows. From deep Earth anomalies to orbital signatures, a picture is emerging, one of quiet vigilance, of technology embedded in stone and silence. If these systems do exist, then we are not just the heirs of forgotten knowledge. We are the beneficiaries of an ancient responsibility, one passed down not through words, but through function, a legacy not of conquest, but of care. For generations, archaeology has relied on stone, bone, and pottery, physical remnants of human activity buried in the soil. But now, a new frontier is emerging, one that does not dig through dirt, but through probability. A discipline that seeks not broken tools, but the echoes of actions, preserved in the deepest layers of reality itself. This is quantum archaeology, a radical approach that explores the possibility of recovering information from the very structure of the universe, where every interaction, every movement, may leave behind a trace in the quantum field. At the quantum level, reality is not fixed. Particles behave like waves, and information is never truly lost. According to quantum theory, the universe holds a kind of memory, a probabilistic shadow of every event that has ever occurred. With recent advances in quantum computing and field theory, scientists are beginning to glimpse a future where this memory could be accessed. Not by photographs or excavation, but by reading the entangled states of atoms, molecules, and even geological structures that once stood witness to ancient technologies and vanished civilizations. Minerals formed deep underground preserve atomic configurations that reflect the environments in which they crystallized. Subtle deviations in lattice structure or isotope balance may record not just temperature and pressure, but radiation patterns, magnetic pulses, or even the presence of exotic technologies. With sufficiently advanced tools, we may be able to reconstruct events from millions of years ago, fossilized not in stone, but in probability waves. The cave wall may no longer show a drawing, but the atoms within it may still remember the firelight that once danced across its surface. Quantum entanglement, long seen as a theoretical curiosity, may hold the key. When two particles interact, they become linked, no matter how far apart they drift. Some researchers speculate that entangled systems within Earth's crust or atmosphere could preserve a faint imprint of technological events, a nuclear reaction, a transmission, a moment of high-energy engineering. These quantum shadows, while subtle, are not random. They are records, and quantum archaeology is learning how to read them, not with picks and shovels, but with sensors and equations. If successful, quantum archaeology could rewrite our understanding of history. It would allow us to observe not just human activity, but the rise and fall of civilizations lost to time. It may reveal machines that left no metal behind, thoughts encoded in fields rather than words, and entire epochs invisible to traditional science. It suggests that nothing is ever truly gone, that the Earth and the universe itself may be the ultimate witness. And within that cosmic memory, the truth of our past still waits, uncollapsed, unrealized, but never truly forgotten. What if Earth is not alone, not merely in the biological sense, but in a civilizational sense? What if our planet, forgotten or dormant, was once a node in a vast and ancient network, one not built of cables or satellites, but of stars, worlds, and time itself? The notion of an interstellar civilization is often portrayed as a galactic empire, sprawling across the stars with ships and flags. But what if the reality is more subtle, more enduring, a distributed intelligence scattered across light years, designed not to rule, but to remember, to guide, and to preserve? Such a network would not rely on constant communication. It would be built for silence, for survival through cosmic storms, stellar deaths, and planetary collapse. Each member civilization, Each conscious world would carry within it the tools to encode its legacy in matter, in memory, in the quantum fingerprints of its own reality. This is not science fiction. Mathematical models suggest that if life is common and intelligence arises repeatedly, then cooperation, quiet, slow, resilient, may outcompete conquest. The universe may be populated not by empires, but by archivists, not by conquerors, but by custodians. Some physicists propose that interstellar communication may not involve messages, but synchronization, like a galactic clock, each civilization aligning its awareness to a shared cosmic rhythm. Signals may be embedded in pulsar patterns, neutrino flux, or even in the background hum of space itself. These messages would not say, "We are here," but "We remember," and perhaps, "We left something for you." It is possible Earth was once such a participant, a planet whose life was nurtured, whose skies were monitored, whose history was seeded as part of something much greater. The more we uncover traces of ancient infrastructure, anomalous materials, and unexplained planetary phenomena, the more plausible it becomes that Earth was never truly isolated. In this view, the Silurian Hypothesis is not merely a story about a past civilization, it is about membership. To be part of the network, a civilization must leave behind more than monuments. It must leave continuity, systems that preserve, monitor, and awaken. Perhaps the watchers beneath our oceans, the memory encoded in crystals, and the artifacts in orbit are all fragments of Earth's role in this greater collective. But even among stars, extinction is real. Time erodes even the most brilliant minds. The network may now be fragmented, nodes darkened, worlds silenced. And yet, some may still glow in the night, sending pulses of knowledge across impossible distances. A signal may yet arrive, not from an alien stranger, but from a former friend. Or perhaps our rediscovery of ancient technologies and buried truths is the network's way of repairing itself, of reactivating a node that once dimmed. Our awakening may not be unique, but part of a process, one that reboots forgotten members, rekindles alliances, and slowly restores the memory of what once was. To entertain this idea is to reframe our understanding of purpose. Our journey through science and civilization may not be toward dominance, but toward reintegration, toward the remembrance of a shared cosmic past. The interstellar network, if it exists, may not need our belief, but it may be waiting for our readiness, not to be contacted, but to remember our role. Not to be rescued, but to rejoin. If there truly was a civilization before us, one that mastered the planet, left traces in stone and quantum shadow, and even joined a galactic network, then its silence is not just mystery, it is warning. Somewhere along its arc, something was lost, a collapse, a forgetting. Perhaps it was war, perhaps ecological failure, or perhaps it was hubris, the belief that intelligence alone is enough to escape nature's justice. The ruins buried beneath rock and ocean may not be monuments to progress, but tombstones of forgotten wisdom. We are not the first, but we still have a choice. The message, if it exists, is not written in language, but in pattern. In the rise and fall of civilizations, in the echoes of technologies that stretch across epochs. It tells us, complexity is not immunity. Advancement is not survival. What is rare is not intelligence, but continuity. The gift we may inherit is not their science, but their failure, so we might not repeat it. For the first time in our history, we have the tools to read the signs, and more importantly, to act on them, to pause, to reconsider the trajectory of our own civilization before it too becomes a whisper in the rock. Perhaps that is the purpose of discovery, to reveal not only what is possible, but what is at stake. If humanity is now awakening to its own ancient past, then this is the moment, the final window before the next turning point. The legacy left to us is not a weapon or a throne. It is a question. Will we endure? Will we become caretakers of the memory that was entrusted to the earth? Or will we let it dissolve again, waiting for some future mind to rediscover what we once were, and again ask, how did they fall? The stars do not demand anything from us. The earth does not plead. The ruins do not speak. But in their silence, there is an invitation to remember, to rise beyond cycles of self-destruction, to step into a role older than empires, a role as stewards of a story that spans not centuries, but cosmic time. We may never know the names of those who came before, but if their lessons reach us now, across the abyss of deep time, then we are not alone. We are chosen, not by fate, but by chance, by opportunity, by memory itself. Every civilization reaches a threshold, a point where knowledge outpaces wisdom, where power exceeds restraint. That threshold may be the final test, one that only a few ever pass. Perhaps the true measure of intelligence is not how far we reach, but what we preserve. Not the machines we build, but the values we carry forward. Humanity stands now at such a precipice. The future is not written, it is carved by choice. In the end, the greatest discovery may not be that we were once part of something greater. It is that we still can be. The network may still be listening. The systems may still function. The earth may still remember. But the next chapter is ours to write. Let it not be an echo. Let it be a voice, clear, enduring, and worthy of being remembered. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.